The main part. The course of instructions follows the 4 lines of Manjushri's original verse, with the initial part of the instructions being based on the first line. The first attachment. If you have attachment to this life, you are not a Dharma person. Jetsun Drakpa Galashtan says himself in his song, though there is no method without depending upon moral conduct, the moral conduct of someone who is attached to this life accomplishes the 8 worldly dharmas. Put aside this false moral conduct. The 8 worldly dharmas are 4 pairs of motivation which embody types of worldly aspirations: gain and loss, pleasure and pain, praise and blame, and fame and notoriety. If we are still subject to these, even though ostensibly we seem to be practicing Dharma, we are not really Dharma practitioner. Indeed, if we examine our own attitudes now, we will see that in fact we are still driven by concern for such things. We want to acquire possessions and fear their loss, obtain pleasure and avoid pain, and so on. For though formally we may call ourselves Buddhist, having taken refuge connected with the tradition, inside we are not really changed, since we have not really rooted out these kinds of concerns. We are still just as much bound by the things of this life as any ordinary non-religious person. While that is the case, the Dharma that we practice cannot really be an antidote or cure for the defilements. So how do we root out these factors which are strangling the possibility of our spiritual development? We must meditate on 2 topics which will cause a change in our outlook so profound that the 8 worldly dharmas, or the things of this life, will no longer have any hold upon us. The subsidiary topic of human birth. The main topic of impermanence and death. Precious human birth. Precious human birth specifically refers to the preciousness of human life, highlighting the difficulty of acquiring our present fortunate situation. What exactly is this opportunity that is afforded to me by my present existence? If I am honest, I see that so far I have mainly used it in pursuit of the things of this life, the 8 worldly dharmas. But if that's the case, then I am not actually in any way appreciating what positive factors constitute that present existence, and therefore what an opportunity it provides. Rare and precious in terms of number. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that all beings possess the potential for enlightenment or Buddha nature, because it is the fundamental nature of mind. Though there are innumerable sentient beings, each possessing mind and therefore this potential, there is only an infinitesimal number who have the opportunity in their present life to realize their Buddha nature. Yet we are among that number. I'm just going to read that paragraph again because I struggled with it. Shakyamuni Buddha taught that all beings possess the potential for enlightenment or Buddha nature, because it is the fundamental nature of mind. Though there are innumerable sentient beings, each possessing mind and therefore this potential, there is only an infinitesimal number who have the opportunity in their present life to realise their Buddha nature, yet we are among that number. Firstly then, in terms of just thinking about the numbers of beings, our present state is both rare and precious. Just consider the tiny number of human beings compared to the number of insects in the world. As is sometimes said, if we look under only one stone, we will find a huge number of insects. All these insects are conscious, possessing mind and awareness, though we overlook this because of their different bodily form. However, in that life form they cannot reflect on their consciousness or achieve liberation from delusion, but we, as humans, can. Even if one persists in thinking there is a comparatively large number of human beings in the world, very few in number are those who actually possess precious human life. That is to say, life where the possibility of practicing Dharma occurs. Precious in terms of the practice of virtue. How did this precious human life that we possess come about? Certainly not by accident, because like everything that occurs, it arose from previous causes and conditions. In this instance, they were virtuous causes. But similarly, if one behaves like a devil, one will become a devil. Behaving like a fully endowed human being, acting virtuously in accord with true human capacity, creates the causes for human life and leads to the enjoyment of subsequent human birth. Remember that precious human life does not consist simply of possessing a human anatomy, but also the capacity to practice the spiritual path. Again, however, if we examine ourselves and the world of human beings, we can see that right now the practice of virtue is very rare. So the future possessions of this precious human birth will be correspondingly rare. Freedom from 8 negative situations and possession of 10 positive factors. Possession of 10 positive factors. What constitutes precious human life can also be viewed in terms of freedom from 8 negative situations and possession of 10 positive factors. Only when those 18 conditions come together can we be said to have a precious human life. Freedom from 8 negative situations. Firstly, we are free at the moment from the oppression of 8 particular negative states. If we are born into any one of these, we would not have the freedom to practice Dharma. In fact, we have previously been born before into every single kind of samsaric state in innumerable times, as a hell being, ghost, animal, or as one of the gods. All these 4 states, though temporary, have been experienced by us at different times in the past, but we are not experiencing them right now. If one wonders where there is the possibility of being born in such a state, one should ask what the causes of rebirth are for this to happen. The answer is certain mental factors. Hatred is the cause of rebirth in hell. Avarice as rebirth as a ghost, and so on. At this very moment we have in our mind stream the factors that lead to rebirth in those states, and if they become dominant in our mind stream in this life, then we would be born in those states in the future. Neither as a human being have we been born in any particular unfavourable situation. For example, we could have been born at a time when a Buddha has not appeared, and therefore there would be no spiritual teaching showing the way to liberation. Nor have we been born in a culture in which there is no moral behaviour, or with impaired senses which would prevent us from receiving and practicing the Dharma. Nor are we addicted to wrong views which contradict the connection between cause and effect of actions, so that we cannot be open to spiritual teaching. Awareness of these freedoms from the 8 negative situations is not only beneficial in terms of learning a list of things we have escaped from, it also makes us reflect upon all the different possibilities that are created by our actions, as we will see in the section on karma, actions and their results. Since the series of lives is beginningless, we should avoid self-congratulation. It is not as if we have had some lucky win in the samsaric lottery that has bestowed on us the precious human birth. To think like that is to ignore the immensity of samsara. We have been everywhere and experienced everything innumerable times. But right now in this human life we are free from these negative situations, which would make it impossible for us to practice the Dharma. The 10 positive factors. Apart from this freedom from the 8 negative states, our precious human life embraces 10 positive factors. 5 that affect us directly and 5 indirectly through others. The first 2 of the 5 factors that affect us directly are that we have been born human with intact senses. This means that the physical setting for our consciousness is unimpaired, and therefore is sufficient for us to be able to understand Dharma. If we have been born human, but our central nervous system was so damaged that our consciousness could not truly function in that setting, then tragically we would not be able to practice the Dharma, because we would not be able to relate with it. Thirdly, we have been born in a country where the Dharma is practiced. Again, one should consider that there might be some places where it is impossible to practice the Dharma, but fortunately we have not been born in such a place. Fourthly, naturally attracted to the Dharma, we have faith and confidence in its foundations. Finally, we have not in this life committed any of the terrible negative actions such as killing our mother or father or some extremely destructive act. This would have endowed us with such a kind of heaviness that would make it immensely difficult for us to practice the Dharma in this life. We should therefore look at ourselves and check to see if we do possess these 5 positive factors that affect us directly. The 5 positive factors that affect us indirectly. The Buddha has appeared. Again, with our rather short-term historical outlook, we may overlook the importance of this. For it is said in the sutras that in fact in the immensity of the aeons, also known as world periods, the appearance of a Buddha is very uncommon. This puts the seemingly long period of 2,500 years since the appearance of the Buddha in a different perspective. Not only has the Buddha appeared, but he has taught the Dharma. Shakyamuni not only awakened to enlightenment, but despite understanding that the Dharma was profound and difficult for others to understand, he did reveal it and teach it to others. The Dharma has remained. Nevertheless, eventually the Buddha's Dharma, his teaching, will disappear. In the future, another person will awaken to ultimate reality in a period when that teaching has been lost, and then will recommence the teachings, under whatever name they are called at that time. However, right now we are still living in a period where the Buddha's teachings flourish. There are followers of this teaching who we have met and can help us to practice it. There are beings who are compassionate to us, supporting us in our Dharma practice. In this way, there are 5 positive factors that affect us through others. Now, what is the point of this list of 18 factors? To bring home to us the wondrous nature of our present situation, by checking ourselves to see whether they are present in us, it dawns upon us what a wondrous combination is in our hands, and therefore how we must avoid taking this human life for granted. It is not a given or fixed, constant, an inalienable right or granted by a deity. Instead, it came about through actions, causes and conditions, and is therefore contingent and fragile. Yet at the same time it is a situation of immense power, because at this very moment I can use my human life, my capacity for reflection, choice and skillful activity to create happiness for myself and others by practicing virtue which respects others. Alternatively, I can create suffering for myself in a far stronger way than other beings, such as animals and so on, whose capacity is much more limited. In short, whether I choose to do evil or to create happiness, the power is that much greater. If then I wish for a good life in the future, I have the capacity to bring it about as a human being. But even more than that, if I wish for liberation from suffering, I can bring that about too, because I can turn inwards, look into my mind and see the causes which produce suffering, hatred, desire, jealousy and so on. Then I can root them out by using the skillful techniques of the teaching. Indeed, I can go further than that. I can find within myself the capacity to help all sentient beings. As the Buddha said, we all possess the Buddha nature, the core of wisdom and compassion. Having discovered this enlightened capacity within myself, I will become equipped with the ability to help all beings to find a way to freedom. In short, I can become a Buddha in my present situation. Crampy knee. Aye. Despite its fragility then, this human life is a vessel of immense power. Unfortunately, while I am currently obsessed with the things of this life, it is being wasted and frittered away. Nagarjuna says in the friendly letter, having obtained a human birth, one who commits sins is more foolish than one who fills a jewel-adorned golden vessel with vomit. It is times said that if you waste your human on these worldly things, you are like a jewel merchant who finds himself on an island where all the stones are jewels, and yet taking none away with him, returns home empty-handed. This is how it would be if at the end of our life we had spent it entirely on worldly things and neglected the Dharma.